Greetings. My name is Judi Chase. Thank you for inviting me to share my thoughts about what happens when our loved ones pass on over to the spirit realm. I truly believe that we're all immortal beings, that we're pure spirit, and that we take on a physical body for the time that we need to fulfill our purpose on earth, and then we drop that body when our purpose is completed and it's time to go on to the next dimension. My dad, Tony, passed on when he was in his 50s, and I always remember he had a favorite saying. He'd say, "Jude, the dead don't die, they look on and help." I'd like to share with you a story from my own personal life when I was incredibly helped by loved ones on the spirit side while I was dealing with a very challenging situation here on the earth plane. Today is June 6th, and exactly 16 years ago today, I was living with my husband, David Chase, on top of a mountain in Evergreen, Colorado. We were in the final stages of adopting our beautiful twins, Darius and Tisha, and we'd purchased a home on 4 acres with a stream and forest, and we were living in our little piece of paradise. I remember on this day, I was standing on the front porch holding the twins in my arms. They were wearing their daddy's cowboy hats, which they loved to do. They would laugh and giggle, and we were watching David load his tools from the workshop into the back of our neighbor Pat's white truck in preparation to go off and do a roofing job that day. David kissed me goodbye, and he blew kisses to the twins, tickled them, walked down the path, got into Pat's truck, and called out, "I'll be home for dinner." And Pat drove off down the mountain. Well, dinner came and went that night, and I hadn't heard from David, and this had never happened before. I was very worried. I sat out on the balcony all night listening for the sound of Pat's truck coming up the mountain, but it was eerily quiet, and that stillness was terrifying. The next morning, I had to report my husband as missing to the police department, and the search and rescue team leapt into action, scoured the countryside. There was no sign of my husband. 6 days later, I was scheduled to do a modeling job in Long Beach, California. And so while I was there, I took the opportunity to visit a friend of mine, Reverend Dolores Allen, who was a medium from the church that I'd been ordained at, the Church of Inner Light. And Reverend Allen said she would see if she could receive some messages from my loved ones in spirit. So I sat down on the floor, cross-legged, closed my eyes. Reverend Allen sat in a big overstuffed chair, and she said, "I'm seeing your husband David in his spirit form. He's telling me that he's been murdered." I was startled. I stammered, "Ask him to tell us what happened." She was silent for a moment. She said, "David says Pat hit me from behind with something heavy and it broke my neck. Some other guys took me to another place, and then they stripped my body. They took all the money out of my wallet. Then they took me to another place, and eventually they threw my dead body off the bridge into the river. But," he said, "when they find my body, just know that's not me. My soul has left. That's not me." I was very startled by this information. I gave a copy of this to the police. About a week later, still no sign of my husband, and I was visiting a songwriting friend of mine named Dove that I wrote songs with. And Dove said, "Judy, I'm hearing this melody in my head. I feel like it's David reaching out to you." So he played it on the piano, and I sat down on the piano bench, and I was so exhausted. I couldn't eat. I hadn't been able to sleep. I was in agony without my husband by my side. I put my head in my hands, and I began to weep. Suddenly, I felt enveloped in an inner peace that I hadn't ever felt before. And I saw my husband's face in front of me, and I heard him whisper into my ear, and I wrote down the words that he said to me. He said, "Judy, all we shared and all we dreamed is still alive today. Reach to me in heaven, and you'll see a different view. Our fingertips will touch, and you will feel me loving you." And I sang the words. He said, "Ooh, the wind upon your face, the warmth of our embrace, my love is all around you. Ooh, I'll whisper in your ear, you'll feel that I am near, my love is all around you." And he said, "Now and always, now and always." And somehow the healing, it was like a healing balm from heaven that filled my consciousness, and it gave me the courage to embark upon this journey for truth and justice. And it gave me the strength to deal with the homicide investigation. And it was truly a gift from heaven. And these gifts have kept coming ever since then. And I know truly that there is no separation. We're all connected. I remember the last play that my husband ever saw me perform in as an actress was called Love Letters by A.R. Gurney. And in a way, my husband and I have been exchanging love letters across the veil ever since. And I feel his presence with me all the time, sometimes like a pulsation in the palms of my hands. The rose bush that he gave me the day before he left that day on June 6th, I planted in the backyard, and 16 years later, it still blooms beautiful yellow roses. So I know that love is eternal. So I ask you to think of somebody that's passed from your life and sit down. If you would like to reconnect with them, write them a little love note, tie it to a balloon, and go out in the garden and release it up into the heavens. And rejoice, because your loved one is immortal, and love never ends. Love is eternal, now and always. Now and always. Thank you.